Over the next 45 minutes or so, you're going to see world-exclusive footage from this incredible movie, which stars Millie Bobby Brown, Chris Pratt, Stanley Tucci, and features the voices of Brian Cox, Jenny Slate, Woody Harrelson, and Anthony Mackie. And you're seeing this footage months before it debuts on Netflix. It's a hell of a time to be alive, folks. A hell of a time to be alive. But I'm not going to be alone on this stage. As you can see, I've got some very, very special friends I'm going to introduce. Will you please welcome the Billbots!
Greetings, MCM Comic Con. Make some noise. Hello, nerds.
My name is Bird.
And I am called Louise. We are proud veterans of the robot-human war, which the stupid meatbags somehow won.
Louise, can you say something nice about the humans?
Your colorful costumes hide your disgusting flesh.
Sorry.
Now who is ready for a message from the stars of the electric state?
Us.
LOL. The look on your lumpy human faces.
Okay, just kidding. We are not the stars.
But I am a Nepo baby. My mom is a Times Square billboard.
Anyway, who is ready for a message from the human stars of the electric state?
Hi, MCM Comic Con.
And hi, London. I miss you.
We're so sorry that we can't be with you today. We've sent some friends along, and we're really hoping that they behave themselves.
And I hope you're looking after Cosmo. We're so excited to share a sneak peek of the new movie Electric State, which you're seeing before anyone else in the UK.
In the film, you'll see me and Millie team up on a journey across the American West after a war between humans and robots changes the world forever.
But remember, robots aren't all bad, and you definitely don't need to worry about our friends in London.
The Electric State is coming to Netflix March 2025. We cannot wait for you to see it.
But for now, get ready for even more special guests coming your way.
Enjoy the show, meatbags.
Now, back to your host.
The Billbots, everybody! Thanks, Bert. Thanks, Louise. That was truly special. Love that. And thanks, of course, to Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt for that message. And not all robots are bad, said Millie, and we have the living proof right here. Please welcome Kid Cosmo, everybody.
Hi, I'm Kid Cosmo. I say over 100 different words and phrases.
Wow, that's amazing, Cosmo. I also have over 100 words and phrases in my vocabulary, and here is one of those phrases right now. Will you please welcome the co-director of The Electric State, Joe Russo! Simply, what inspired you to make this movie, The Electric State, your next movie?
Well, it was based on a beautiful graphic novel by a wonderful artist, Simon Stålenhag, and hopefully folks are familiar with his work by now. He's a stunning artist, and Chris Marcus, who has been a collaborator of ours for well over a decade, and is the writing partner to Steve McFeely, found this book when it was a Kickstarter campaign years ago, and he brought it to the three of us, Steve, me and Anth, and we all fell in love with it. We fell in love with the artwork, we fell in love. There was a very loose narrative behind the artwork, but you could just see the world building in the book. You could feel the themes that he was playing with, and they were profound and very topical themes about technology. Very cleverly placed in an alternate period, 1990s, and we felt that it was a very rich world that we could tell a story in, and that's what started the journey.
What made you pull the trigger on it?
Well, it took a while to develop because while Simon Stollenhag's artwork is so intriguing, like Joe was describing, you look at it and it's set in our shared past, but it's not exactly what we know to be our shared past. And it's so intriguing, this sort of like it's a wonderful artistic space to play in. What is there? What happened? Where did what we understand as our past and this sort of fantastical world that he has imagined visually? What happened in that space? It took Marcus and McFeely and Joe and I quite a long time to kind of find a narrative in that space. Yeah. But it was fun. We were exploring a lot of different ideas, and really what it was just the forming of that narrative around a character named Michelle, who's played by Millie Bobby Brown, and this search for her brother. You know, the movie is set in the wake of this war between humans and robots, and Millie lost her family in the war, and she realizes that her brother may still be alive, and she's on a journey to try to find him.
Amazing. And obviously one of the themes of the movie is technology and the rise of technology and the rise of AI, I guess, as well, and our own interaction with it and our own experience with it and how we retain our humanity. And this is for everybody. Joel, we'll start with you. Is that what does the movie say about that, and how important is that?
It's a very accurate assessment of the themes. I think, you know, the stories it tries to define humanity, and you know what humanity can be present in, and in a lot of ways, the robots in the story are more human than the humans, and the humans are losing their way. And I think that it's an interesting commentary on how technology has the potential, if we let it, to dehumanize us, and to separate us, which is really central to the story. Again, as Ann said, it's a girl who's been separated from her brother, and I think, you know, it's also set in period for a specific reason. I think it's much easier to process current themes when it's once removed from you. So you'll see these very exaggerated VR headsets in the story, and the world of the technology is very heightened. So it's a fable. And we thought that would create an easier entry point for the audience.
Absolutely. You know, I think we all struggle with the amazing ways that technology has connected us to one another in really meaningful ways that weren't possible previously. It's made the world more connected to one another. It's given people options personal options that they may never have had. So in one sense, it's wonderful, but it also can be a threat. It can be dehumanizing, like Joe was saying. So it's really exploring the paradox within technology, and we're projecting that sort of conflict back into our past, into an imagined fantasy version of our past.
It's on my mind all the time. It's in my hand right now. You know, here's this great way where we can communicate with each other from great distances, and it's something that, you know, you read about when you were a kid, and you thought, oh, that will never happen, and it has happened. I mean, people literally talking to each other on their watches, like Dick Tracy used to do in 1930s and 40s comic books. You thought it was far-fetched, but it really isn't. It's an incredible thing, you know, what we've been able to create, and yet, of course, at the same time, as you know, as the movie discusses, it's terrifying, and we run the risk of it dehumanizing us, disconnecting us, and we will lose. We have run the risk of losing bits of our souls to technology, and I think we have to be very, very, very careful of it. And I think we see it especially with children.
How did you go about creating this alternate 90s, and what can people expect?
I mean, it was painstaking. It took us years to get this to the screen, and you know, a really intense design process. We worked with Dennis Gassner, who is one of the greatest production designers of all time, who has some of the most incredible credits. And he's an absolute dream to work with. And he really helped us build out the world. We had to take, it's hard with a graphic novel. I mean, this is a 2.5-hour film. You have to translate it. And so we had to build the world out more than what was in the book. And we used the book as an inspiration and Simon's incredible work as an inspiration to build a story around. To give context, this is a 1990s where if Walt Disney's animatronic inventions in the late 50s and early 60s had gained sentience, and after gaining sentience, demanded equal rights, and then fought humanity for those equal rights. And as Ann said, this is where the movie starts, right at the end of that battle for their equal rights.
Woody Harrelson voices Mr. Peanut, for example. How much fun did you guys have coming up with the robot cast?
Oh, incredible fun. I mean, look, part of the thrill was, we've gotten to work with so many great actors through the years over time. An example is Anthony Mackie. When you get to work with people repeatedly, and we're having this experience with Stanley as well, which is thrilling, you come to understand the full range of what they're capable of, because you get to know them on a personal level. And you start to see in them things, possibilities for things that you hadn't imagined previously, that you can't see in their body of work. And I think that's one special thing we got to do with Anthony Mackie in this film. I think people are going to be surprised when they see him play the character of Herman, who's the robot partner of Chris Pratt in the movie. He's a really fun character, larger-than-life character. Excuse me. And he and Chris Pratt have an amazing buddy relationship through the film, and they become great allies of Millie in the movie. So, look, there's so many different approaches. We try to surprise ourselves in the casting and how we can realize these robots, from Jenny Slate to Brian Cox to Woody Harrelson. That was an extremely difficult character to figure out, as you can imagine, Mr. Peanut. And Woody really made it come to life like we hadn't imagined. So it's a thrill. It's a creative road of discovery, very much a collaboration with actors.
Joe, I spotted a sneaky little cameo there from you. Who is that guy?
I like to pop in every now and then, play the jerkiest character in the movie.
Who is that guy? What's his deal? I want to know more about
that guy.
Yeah,
he's some very intense CNN personality. Crossfire.
Okay, interesting stuff. But Stanley, let's talk about Ethan Skate. What can you tell us about him? Obviously, very handsome. We know that. But what can you tell us about the character?
Yes, I was very flattered by that. I think, well, first of all, he's a tech genius, and he's working. His original intention is to make things, he's like a Steve Jobs. He's just trying to make the world a better place. And you find out throughout the film, during the film, you find out what was the sort of original, what was the genesis of this idea, from his personal perspective. But he's a guy who has amassed a huge amount of power. And I think, the old saying is, when you wish to know a man, give him power. And we find out, we get to know him, let's say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's leave it there for that. And but this is your first time working with Joe and Anthony. Incredibly, they directed. You were in the one Captain America movie that they didn't direct, which is fun. But what was it like working with them? Finally.
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that. I said to them when we first started working together, I said, I had been doing this for 40 years. I said, why has it taken so long for me to for us to find each other. I've never been happier on a set. We were doing Citadel as well. I just love the way they work. They have incredible instincts with actors. They know how to direct actors, which most directors don't. But they also have a really incredible visual sense that a lot of directors also don't. So they're able to take these two different, the technology of today, which they're always sort of, pushing forward themselves, and the humanity of the characters on the page. And it is just, it's a joy. As I said, I've never been happier. And they also don't like to shoot long days, so that's really nice too.
Well, look, Stanley is lucky that he met us at a more advanced stage of our lives, because there may have been an earlier phase where our days weren't as reasonable and civilized. But yeah, and certainly the Italian food that Stanley inspires and is a big part of that enjoyment.
We needed a brilliant actor with Stanley's complexity and dimension to play this character who is, he's a tragic figure. He's enmeshed in technology because he lost things in his past. He's suffered trauma in his past, and he wants to use the technology to heal that trauma. He goes about it in the wrong way, and he tries to force that healing on everyone around him. And I think it's really reflective of the world today, where we have all these tech scions who seem to be very specific people, and they seem to have their own baggage and their own trauma that informs a lot of the decisions and choices that they make, and those choices aren't necessarily always good for humanity and for the rest of us.
Naming no names, of course.
Yeah.
So